This video describes the installation and basic use of AeonXL. AeonXL is Global Financial Data's Excel add-in that allows GFD users to retrieve global financial data directly into the Excel environment. To install AeonXL, you can do it from any browser by going to the Global Financial Data website and typing globalfinancialdata.com/aeon/setup.exe. At this point, the browser will ask you to go ahead and run the installation program. Then, depending on the operating system and browser, you'll get a series of confirmation boxes. Once the add-in is successfully installed, we can switch over to Excel. And to verify that it was installed correctly, we look for AeonXL in the ribbon bar. I'm going to click on that, and you can see all of the AeonXL menu items. The first thing we're going to do is to log in, and this uses your Global Financial Data credentials. Once authenticated, we can begin retrieving data. To retrieve data, we make a request. So I'm going to click the Request My Data. And from here, the simplest way to retrieve data is to enter the series name and click on Submit. This will send the request to the Global Financial Data server, retrieve the data, and populate the Excel spreadsheet. To modify the request or to add more data items, make sure that you click on the cell that the original request was made from and hit Request My Data again. At this point, you can modify or add additional data items. You can check additional categories, and again, I will hit Submit. And this will retrieve open, high, low, close volume for the 3 data series. If I want to add additional identifiers for each of those data series, again, I make sure the original cell is clicked on, request the data, and for any of the data series, I can select additional identifiers. I can also apply that to every data item I have listed. And again, submit the request. At this point, you see the additional name series type added to the spreadsheet, but you also see some extra data that was left over from the original request. When Excel downloads the data, it does not erase any of the cells. So to make this look better, I'm going to clear out all of the data and refresh it by saying Update Data. And we've got the same problem here. We have old data from the previous request. I'm going to clear out those contents, update the data so it's more accurate. Now again, I want to change the request. I can individually remove the data items or remove them all and request different data. Again, I've got some extra from the previous request, so I'm going to go through and update the data. At this point, we've seen how to log in, do a basic data request, and update the data. Now let's take a look at the search capabilities. I'm going to request some more data. If you don't know the name of the data series, or you want to add a group of data series, we go over to the search box. This has the same search capabilities as the Global Financial Data website. First, you decide which database you want to retrieve from. In this case, we're going to do the GF database. We have several filters we can use. Start with country, a series group, whether we want it to be a main indicator or not. And when you're satisfied with all the filters, you can search the data items. In this case, we came back with 58 data series. I'll select the ones I want to look at, hit submit. So these 3 data series have been added to our request. I'll hit submit, and the data is downloaded for those 3 data series. Again, if I want to modify it, I make sure that the original cell is clicked, request data. I can go back to the search box, request additional data series. At this point, we might want to see all of the data series in a pivoted table. This is one of the options you'll see in the final tab, where we're going to pivot the table. So that we can see all the data series now at the same date. Here are some of the other options for the layout. The date range, the frequency. So let's say we want to go back 20 years. We have adjustments to the data. No data can be shown as ND or blank. We can forward fill or backfill non-existent data to line it up to other series. Periodicity, currency, and some of the layout options. This will go back for 20 years of data now. So we see that it begins in 1994 now for all the data series. We also see that the Afghanistan series does not have monthly values for that time. One option would be to have the indies displayed as blanks. So I'll go back to the same data request, have the blanks show up instead of the indies. Another option would be to fill in the data. Since the other three data series have data for that period, you may want to fill in this data with either a backfill or a forward fill. In this case, I'll do a backfill, resubmit, and there you see the data has been backfilled. The data request resides in the cell that you initiated the data request from. You can delete any other part of the spreadsheet that you would like to, as long as you don't delete that cell. Then at any point in the future, you can do the update data and it will refresh the data request. You can also have multiple data requests. So if I clear out all of the cells, create a new data request, I can then create a second data request anywhere on the spreadsheet. And a third data request. All of these data requests are independent of each other and can have different options assigned to each one. So for example, if I want to get additional data for the third data request, I first need to make sure that the cell is clicked on that has that data request, make the modifications, and that will only apply to that one request. So the AeonXL workbook consists of data requests, the data it retrieves, and any other formulas, functions, or objects that have been put into the Excel workbook. Once this item is saved, the user can restore then all the data or the updated data by loading the workbook back up and doing an update data function. So for example, if I delete the contents, as long as my data request still exists in the workbook and I save this, I can come back at any point in the future, load up that Excel workbook, log in, and do an update data, and all those data items will be refreshed with the latest data.